Hey everyone, my name is Melissa Wright and I'm with Local First Arizona. You'll know me as the one that sends out all those lovely reminder emails for all the webinars that we are doing. I have the pleasure to introduce the team here at joybyte, but before we get into that, I just want to go over a couple housekeeping details. As you joined, you will have noticed that your mic and your video was turned off. We'd appreciate that through the duration of the webinar that you keep both of those off, both muted and the video off, because we do have multiple presenters for this particular webinar. So if you have any questions regarding any technical details, there is the chat room open. So you can make sure to go ahead and drop those right into the box. I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the presentation. We do ask that you wait until the end of the presentation to ask your questions. And again, you will be just dropping those into the chat box and I'll go ahead and ask those for you. And then the presenters will go ahead and give you the answer or ask for any clarification. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ben. He is the CEO of joybyte, and we're very excited to have him and his team here. Hey, Ben.
Hey, thanks a bunch, Melissa. All right, well, let's get started. First of all, we're really excited to have you all with us today. Thank you very much. We're also honored to be working with Local First Arizona, and thank you to them for hosting this webinar. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. The topic of this webinar is the DIY digital marketing tricks to help your business survive 2020. And obviously in 2020, our plans have been dramatically changed because of the COVID pandemic, and it's really had an impact on our personal lives, but also our lives as consumers and how we interact as businesses with our customers. And so, for really, the priorities are just different now than they were before for our customers. And really, a lot of our customers, no matter what business we're in, they're looking for support, savings, and leadership from us, no matter what business that we're in. As an agency, we've been helping our customers pivot their marketing strategy and really figure out how they can best support their audience online. And we've also been going through a process ourselves of changing our own services to best adapt and help our customers. And so at the end of this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about what joybyte has done kind of as a case study to modify service and to pivot in this landscape. But let's jump into our topics and let's take a look at who we have on the call today. First, we have myself. I'm the CEO and founder of joybyte. We have Meghan Price, who's our head of accounts. We have Mariah Castillo, who's our digital marketing manager. And we have Triniti Burton, our director of marketing and growth. Our topics for today are, number one, just a general welcome. Number two, how do you represent if you are open for business online? Meghan Price will lead that topic. Number three, your social storefront, with many businesses still being virtual and interacting with their customers in a virtual way. Number four, keys to loyalty, which will be led by Triniti. And then we'll look at joybyte lite, a case study of what joybyte has done to pivot in these circumstances. And finally, we'll close this webinar with a Q&A. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Meghan to talk about being open for business. Meghan, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Ben. So yeah, open for business, that's probably the biggest question being asked by your customers today, especially with everything going on with COVID-19. Guidelines are changing weekly, if not daily. So it's really more important than ever to make sure that you're communicating with your customers and that they know what the status of your business is, whether you're temporarily closed, whether you have changed business hours, etc. Right? And the way that you do that is through your online business listings. Gone are the day of our old school Yellow Pages book, right? And everything's gone online. So there's hundreds and hundreds of business listings, but today we're really going to focus on Google My Business in particular. And the reason we're going to focus on Google My Business is because it is the largest #1 directory in the world. There's no coincidence around that. It is owned by Google, the #1 search engine in the world. So I think that's pretty easy to put two and two together, but it also adds a lot of value that other other listings don't provide. So we're going to go through a couple of those, but more importantly, we're going to focus on the customer experience and the customer journey of how they find this information related to your Google My Business listing, because there are multiple ways to stumble upon that and multiple products owned by Google that customers can find your information, and all of that is updated simultaneously. So let's take a look together. I'm just going to do a quick screen share and we'll start going through some of those paths. Alrighty. So one of those ways is just through your Google search engine, right? It might be through desktop, it might be through mobile, and just searching for your business directly. And what they're going to stumble upon is what we call the Google Knowledge Graph. And this is a one-stop shop for all information related to your business. So the point behind this is to be able to answer any questions you might have around a business, whether it's finding out what it looks like, its location, its contact information, even things like blog posts have been added to this, and there's a ton of value. But the one thing you'll notice is that it takes up a ton of real estate on that first page of Google, which is extremely valuable. All your other business listings will be listed here, but they're going to be further down the page. They're not going to be as predominantly placed, so it's really easy to find that information. Definitely a key point and why it should be a priority to make sure this information in particular is updated for your customers. Maybe your customer already knows about your business. They're just trying to figure out how to get there. The next product is one that probably you already have on your phone, and that is Google Maps, right? So maybe you're just looking for directions, and that's probably an application you have on your phone. So you'll just type in that company into your app. If you're not keeping your Google business listing up to date, this information is going to be inaccurate. And especially right now, this is a very easy opportunity to have a negative customer experience. And that's what we want to avoid here. I know I personally have even had negative experiences so far where you go to a business and you don't find out until you arrive there that, oh, they're closed or their business hours have changed simply because that business listing isn't up to date, right? The third value around Google is that they actually give you some brownie points for participating and making sure your stuff's up to date. You should want to do this for your customers anyways, but if you are participating and you're continuing to optimize, optimize can be a scary word, but just make sure that you're adding value to your customers. You're continuing to make sure your content is up to date, and you should be golden. But they're going to give you brownie points to continue ranking so that your company continues to rank higher and higher than your competitors. So let me show you what that looks like. And this is the third way that updating your Google My Business listing will impact search results. So maybe last time we searched for an exact company. This time we don't really know where we want to go, but we know we want a burger and we know we want it in Scottsdale, right? So in local searches in general, the first thing you're going to see here, 93% of the time, that's a huge percentage, is what we call this local 3-pack. And this is some very, very, very valuable real estate. Over half of searches, your customers are going to click on whatever is in this local 3-pack. And the unique thing about this 3-pack is you cannot pay your way into this spot except for this top spot here unless you are participating and continuing to update all of your information. At the end of the day, Google is a business in itself. It wants to make sure that its customers have the most valuable, up-to-date, current information. So it only wants to show those businesses, right? So as long as you are continuing to update, you're earning your spot and working your way up to that local 3-pack. And that's some extremely valuable real estate that, again, you can't buy your way into. So that's a pretty big deal. So we know updating our Google business listing, we're going to find that through Google search. We're going to be able to discover that through our maps, and we're also going to optimize and increase that SEO, right? But how do we actually make those updates in Google? Pretty simple. As long as you are logged into your Google account, you'll notice up here you have all of your apps in the right-hand corner. You'll just toggle on that and click on My Business. From there, it's going to take you directly to your dashboard. If you own multiple businesses in there, then you'll just have to select the one you want, and it's going to take you directly to your Google My Business dashboard. Now, I could spend an entire hour just talking about all of the features of this dashboard, but I'm going to go over the really important points that are impacting specifically what's happening right now with COVID-19. Google is also prioritizing this information, so we'll go through that together. But I do encourage you to go through all of these features in Google My Business because it adds a ton of value and there are a ton of features in here. Just the homepage alone gives you a really easy to consume information because it aggregates all the information that's going on around your dashboard. Today, we're going to specifically concentrate on the info tab. Google has said that they are prioritizing this information to make sure it's up to date because it's the most impacted by what's going on right now. So that's what we are also going to concentrate on. There's 3 areas I'd recommend making sure are up to date for your customers because they're probably going to be impacted in some way during this transition. One is going to be making sure, again, that status is up to date. If your company is temporarily closed down, I know that's a scary thing to even consider or think about as a business owner, marking yourself closed on Google, but trust me, it's going to be an even worse customer experience to have to go through that and discover on their own that the information was inaccurate, that they looked it up online. Google has also disclaimed that it will not impact your ranking if you're going to mark yourself as temporarily closed. So say you are already ranking really well, or maybe you're even in that local 3-pack, it's not going to impact that ranking. So that's really good news to hear. The second area to concentrate on still ties into that making sure your information is up to date is your business hours. Especially as businesses are slowly opening up or just on their comfort level of opening up, these are changing rapidly. So make sure that is up to date. Google a couple months back put out what was essentially a safety blanket for all small business owners by saying these business hours, they may be different than what they actually are. Hours of service may vary. Just so you get an idea of that. That was so business owners had the chance to catch up and get their listing up to date to make sure everyone was on the same page. Google has also disclaimed that if you update your hours, that message will go away. And then the third area to concentrate on is your attributes. And Google changes the features within your attributes based on the industry you're on. Or that you work in. So one example of that specifically that's been really helpful now is restaurants in particular. Attributes of a restaurant would be whether you have the option to dine in or carry out or curbside pickup, that sort of thing. And those sort of attributes right now are changing pretty quickly as well. And you're able to update that within this feature. So just to give you an example of what that looks like, dine-in, takeout, delivery, you know easily that those features are there for you. These have always been part of Google My Business, but they've made them more predominantly placed on the page so that customers can easily at a glance know what their options are right now. Just like all of the information is being prioritized as far as the info tab, Google is also prioritizing industries. So healthcare industries are getting a little bit more of a priority. I, in general, have not seen too much of an issue where information hasn't been updated, but they have disclaimed that. So by no means use Google as a one-stop shop for all information and the only way to communicate with your customer base, but it's still really important that this remains up to date. So continue to be on top of it, as well as your website and social media. I know Triniti and Mariah are both going to get into those, so I'll go ahead and wrap up my portion now. Thanks,
All right. Thanks, Megan. That was really, really helpful. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Mariah. Mariah, let's talk about the social storefront.
Thanks, Ben. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Awesome. So your social storefront is really a way to engage with your current and future customers, very similar to how you would engage with them on a face-to-face level. But now you're pulling all of those skills that you know as a business owner onto social media. So even though businesses are choosing to reopen and get into this new normal, it's still a very unprecedented time, and it's very important to stay up to date with any of your business's changes in services or product offering on social media, as well as just stay connected with your customer base on social media with ways that I'm going to talk about in this presentation. So for organic social media, it's really important to understand the capabilities of organic social media. So it's really intended to be able to reach new audiences and grow your brand awareness while also building brand loyalty with the customers that you currently have. So the way that you can do that is by building and maintaining an editorial calendar, engaging on social media daily, listening to your audience, and adapting to new trends. Right now, US social media users are spending 32% longer on social media than prior to coronavirus. So that's why it's really important that all businesses use this opportunity to start posting regularly and taking advantage of all eyes being online right now. When we start to think about what we should be posting, I always get this question from business owners of what should I be posting? I'm not getting new audience members. My engagement rates are kind of low. I'm not reaching new people. And a really big thing that I see business owners doing is just posting information about their business, their services, and offerings. So we always like to consider the 80-20 rule and understand that viewers are on social media to be entertained and educated and feel connected much in the same way that you would on a face-to-face level. So 80% of your content should really be focused on entertaining and educating your audience, while just devoting 20% to updates on your business, services, and offerings. So the way that you can build and maintain your social posting in a way that works for your business as a business owner, I totally understand being a business owner, you wear a lot of hats and you have a lot of things to do. So this is the best way that we've found to organize your content and let it work for you while you're continuing to own and maintain your business. So the first thing that you're going to be doing is identifying which platforms you want to be posting on. So every platform doesn't work for every business. For instance, if you have a B2B business, posting on LinkedIn might be better for you because that's a professional space. While if you own like a real estate business, it might be better to start posting on Instagram because it's a very visual platform. So just identifying what platforms will work best for your business is the very first step. And then you want to figure out which days you should be posting on. So think about your customer base and your audience and understand what their activities are. Something to consider though is that Saturday and Sunday, a lot of businesses aren't posting because they're not in the office and they don't have a scheduling platform to do that. So you have a lot less competition if you post on Saturdays and Sundays. Also understand that Mondays are not the best day to post simply because people are in their emails, they're doing their Monday check-ins, and it's super crazy. So a lot of them aren't usually on social media during that day. And then also considering Fridays, people are usually checked out and a lot of times don't want to be educated during that time. So sticking away from Fridays is probably best for you. Also, a lot of studies have shown that Tuesday is the best day to post. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is really the sweet spot, as well as Saturday and Sunday too. So after you've identified the days that you want to post and the platforms, the next step is to outline what content you want to be posting. So considering the 80-20 rule, start to bucket out content that is particular to your business. So services and offerings can be one bucket, but also considering the entertainment factor. Motivational quotes do really well on social media, as well as memes or photos of your team. So just start to prioritize content into buckets so you can organize what content you want to be posting and what buckets you want to fill each month. Next step is to get graphics created. So I know not everyone has that creative bone and not everyone has access to a professional graphic designer. So there are a lot of different apps and tools that you can use to get graphics created. My favorite is Canva. They have a lot of templates that are really easy to use and make your graphics look really professional. So that's a great one to use. And then also considering stock photography, Pexel and Unsplash are really great resources that are completely free that have access to tons of different stock photography that you can use for your posting schedule. And then the next thing to do is schedule out your posts. So as a business owner, it doesn't really make sense to go into your platforms every single day and post and caption on a day-to-day basis. So there are also a lot of apps you can use to schedule things out ahead of time. And I always recommend scheduling out a month in advance if you can. That way your posts are just working for you as you just run your business on the day-to-day as usual. The very most important thing is to post regularly and consistently. So a lot of social platforms will not prioritize your content because you're not being a good social media user and posting regularly and staying up to date, as well as people will start to forget you if you're not constantly appearing in their feeds. So the most important part is just to get started and start posting regularly. The next thing that I would recommend, and probably the biggest opportunity that businesses miss, is engagement. So engagement is also more important than ever because of COVID-19. You really want to be replicating those face-to-face relationships that you would have in like a regular situation with your customers, but you want to be doing that on social media now. So not only should you be responding to comments and direct messages, it's also important to be going out into the social platforms and commenting on other people's posts. So there are a lot of thought leaders out in the space that you can find that your audience is already interacting with. And all you have to do is comment, like, or repost their content so that you can start to steal some of their audience onto your page. I always recommend doing 10 minutes of engagement a day at minimum, but obviously your results will be indicative of how much time you spend on engagement. So if you're not seeing any audience growth, this is a great place to start, of just start talking to people online and devoting some of your time just on a daily basis to be interacting with people as your business. The other thing that's really exciting is that as you start to comment, people are going to start to see your @ handle. So you're building brand awareness at the same time. So it's really a win-win to do this practice. So as a business owner, we all understand how important it is to set goals and set really realistic expectations for your social media. I always get the question from business owners of how many followers you can get by posting on social media. And that's not really the best place to look at first. Really the best place to look is engagement and reach. So you want to have a lot of followers, of course, because you're building brand awareness, but you also want to have interaction with your audience. So really setting those goals at the start and devoting 90 days to understanding your audience and reviewing what they really like to see and what they're engaging with, and then continue to post based on that. And if you do see something that's not working, don't be afraid to scrap that idea and try something new. You really want to be making changes quickly so you can adapt to trends and see what your customer is really interacting with. So the best place to start, if you absolutely have no idea what to get started with, is to look at other brands that you admire or that are in your similar industry and start to pull from what they're really seeing good performance from. So these are all great brands that I love that are posting about the changes with COVID-19. You can see that the graphics are super simple, but they had really high engagement rates, a ton of comments, and a ton of likes. So as a business owner, I would post something very similar to these top performing posts, just with my business's spin on it. And that's a great way to start seeing that uptick in audience engagement and reach. When you're communicating, the most important thing is to be quick, clear, and empathetic, especially right now. And Triniti is going to go into more about that, so I will let her take it away and send it back to you, Ben.
Thank you, Mariah. That was fantastic. Triniti, let's jump into keys to loyalty.
Happy to. So what I want to spend some time talking about today, guys, is really the importance of continuing to build connections with your customers, right? When we think about marketing and growing our businesses, we usually think about all the things that we do to try to attract new business. It makes a lot of sense. I get it. New customers equals business growth. But we really can't underestimate the importance of communicating with our existing customers, especially when we have the opportunity to earn their repeat business. So if your business is founded in customer loyalty and you offer a service that people keep coming back for, or repeat items that people will purchase again and again, customer marketing and communications becomes absolutely critical, right? People genuinely want to keep doing business with the same companies. They don't want to have to find new providers or solutions. According to HubSpot, 93% of people say that they'll continue to do business with companies that provide great service. Now, when you combine this with the fact that it costs up to 5 times more to acquire a new customer than it does to keep an existing one. Building relationships with your customers just makes sense. Right? But creating happy customers doesn't just happen at the moment of service. It's all about long-term relationships and cultivating loyalty over time. It takes repeated interactions and regular communications across multiple touch points. So how do you do that? How do you start communicating with your customers in a way that makes sense for you and for them? And we've seen a lot of businesses over the last 60 days really scrambling to try to launch customer communication programs because it wasn't something they had thought about before. And as we really go into the next year, we know that this piece of our retention and growth and marketing efforts is more critical than ever. What we find is that it's about sending the right message through the right channels at the right time. And there are countless opportunities to communicate with your customers. With the right tools, a lot of these moments can easily be automated. You might even be doing some of these things already, right? For instance, sending thank you messages when new appointments are scheduled or orders are placed. Checking in right after a product was delivered or a customer received service. This is actually a great time to ask people to share their feedback. Number one, it communicates that you care about the quality of your service. But number two, those positive reviews will help generate new business. You can time emails around recommended service schedules if you're like an automotive shop, service reminders about oil changes, or a hair salon, reminders about, hey, I'm sure your color's faded, it's time to come back in, that type of thing. And as far as the right place, this is about the channels that you use to send messages, right? Email and text messaging and social media. We suggest keeping it fresh by incorporating a mix of channels, right? You don't really just want to rely on a monthly email newsletter or just be the person that sends a text message every Monday with your weekly deals. When you mix those channels together, you're engaging with your customers in the way that they prefer to communicate. But we do find that email is the #1 most reliable, used, and effective customer marketing channel. It's great for regular communications, sharing helpful content, sending promotions. But SMS text messaging is also a really great channel for sending deals and coupons. It's also ideal for appointment reminders and requesting reviews. Social media, Mariah actually talked about the value of using social media to build brand loyalty. But it's not just for talking to audiences at scale. It can be a great channel for direct one-to-one communications. We know that that's where a lot of digital audiences are the most active. So think about using it for personal shout outs or review generation. And when we talk about direct mail, I'm not really talking about the cookie cutter promos like adding a flyer to your local coupon pack, although that is great. It's a great way to get business out there to new customers. But I'm really talking about mailing your customers handwritten thank you notes or sending birthday cards with a special coupon, right? My kid's dentist office every year, they send them a birthday card with an offer to come in and pick up a free movie ticket. Higher ticket transactions like real estate, sending welcome baskets, that kind of thing. And then when we talk about the right message, that's about really being authentic, relevant, and helpful. Right? But what does it mean to be authentic? Think of your business as if it were a person. How do you want people to describe you? Right? Are you fun and friendly or caring and compassionate? Are you the most knowledgeable and experienced in your field? Once you figure out what that voice is, reflect back on it. Every time you're writing an email or a text message to your customer, and make sure it sounds like it's coming from your brand. And it's also important to be relevant and personal, right? Your customers need to know that you're, one, in touch with reality, right? And particularly now that you're not, hiding under a rock or ignoring what's really going on in business times, and two, that you care about them and their needs. And you do this by little things like using their name in email subject lines and introductions when you can. Most email marketing tools will make it easy to personalize. So if you include their name in your subject line, it's actually proven to boost open rates by about 30%. That means 30% more people are going to open those emails if you can personalize it with their name. And acknowledge any life factors that people might be dealing with. Chewy's actually a really great example. If you're not familiar with them, they're an online pet supply company. They have a monthly auto ship program. And so, sometimes we lose pets and we have to call and cancel our auto ship. And so Chewy actually has a program. If someone calls to cancel their auto ship because their pet has passed, they send a condolence package acknowledging their loss. And it's huge. It's helped that brand grow tremendously. So if you can create that kind of authenticity and personal touch to your customer communications, you will win every time. And always add value, right? This is about sharing content like tips or recommendations that people find helpful. Back to the example of a hair salon, maybe you specialize in color. Consider sending new clients an email after their first appointment with 5 tips to make your new hair color last longer. Even if you talked about this when they were in your salon, it's a great, helpful reminder and way to communicate with them that you care about their results and just to keep that conversation going after they leave your place of business. Okay, I know that's a lot, but I wanted to share some specific recommendations on adapting your customer communication plan to the here and now. How can you engage with your customers in the present circumstances without getting tuned out? And more importantly, how can you stimulate some new business from your current customer base as the country starts to reopen and kind of play with these financial constraints and operational constraints that we're facing? So I have 3 tips that will help stimulate some ideas. Number 1, show them you know them. So for me, the most refreshing part of the current changes to the business landscape is that so many businesses have let down their professional guards and realized that we're all just people. Like, the businesses that are adding the most value to my life right now are ones that seem to get how the pandemic is affecting me. So what are some ways that you can do this? One example that I really like is for a restaurant, right? And this is, I know that restaurants are open for business. In-person dining is allowed with some suggested restrictions and modifications, but we really don't know what that's going to look like 30 days from now or 60 days from now, if we're going to be back in full steam or face continued constraints. And so we kind of need to have some plans in place to adjust to that. Right, so if you're a restaurant that's famous for a certain dish, it could be a great time to send your loyal customers an email along the lines of, look, we know it's frustrating not to be able to get out to your favorite local dining spots. To help you get through the pandemic crisis, we're sharing our secret recipe to our famous guacamole. So grab some avocado and give it a whirl. And if your batch doesn't come out the way you want it to, don't worry, we'll be open soon and we'll have a fresh bowl waiting for you. And so in a note like this, you've expressed, 1, that you get how the current circumstances are affecting their life. They can't get out and do the things that they love doing. You've added value to the here and now, reminded them about something that you loved, reminded them about something that they loved about your business, and you've set the stage to get them back in the doors when your dine-in service resumes. Another thing we talk about is rewarding them for their loyalty. One of the best ways to keep your customers coming back for more is to offer them exclusive deals and incentives. And most Americans, your customers included, we can all benefit from all the discounts we can get right now. So depending on the nature of your business, you may or may not have been serving your customers over the last couple of months. If we go back to that Mexican restaurant with the killer guacamole, right? So if you have been closed, you've reopened your business, but we know things are picking up at a really slow pace. What about sending an offer next week for a special discount to your loyal customers? Buy one, get one coupon good for the first 2 weeks after reopening. And then the third recommendation that I have is making it worth your customers' while to refer their friends and family. Referrals can be an excellent source of business. One of the things that I like most about referrals is that they connect the dots between customer loyalty and customer acquisition. People trust recommendations from their family and friends. So if you can get your customers talking about your business to their friends and family, there's great potential for growth. So think about what kind of reward you can offer to customers who refer business to your business. Can you give them a discount or a free product, a thank you gift, or better yet, a cash bonus or a gift card? Whatever you come up with, make sure you communicate it with your customers, and also communicate how you're operating in this time. And if they come to your place of business, what they can expect. Or are there, have you had to modify service, or are masks required? Or how are your internal employees protecting their health and safety? Send a text, send an email, add it to your website. Just be sure to let your customers know that you're here to serve them, their friends and family, and that you're passing along the benefits. And that's all for me, Ben.
Thanks, Trinity. That's fantastic advice. Let me get myself queued back up. Okay, great. All right. And let me just get the video going here too. That's all right. We'll go ahead and leave it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what joybyte has done. And, you know, obviously with everything that's going on right now, one of the important factors is to really ask yourself, have you responded to these new circumstances? Or are you doing business as you always have? And, you know, really it's important that we take a good look at our business and really understand where we can add the most value to our customers. What can we do to modify how we're serving them, to really provide what we talked about at the beginning, which is support, savings, and added leadership. And so with joybyte being a full-service digital agency that can offer a lot of value to businesses, but you know, a lot of times our engagements are at a more premium level, and so they're at higher price points, and so we understood that businesses were hurting. I mean, maybe some of our customers were able to afford an agency retainer before, but now they're not. Or maybe small businesses out there are in a situation where they used to have somebody on staff that was handling their social media, and now they're no longer able to employ that person, and they're really left with having to do it all themselves. And so with that, we really looked at what we do great at joybyte, one of our absolute core competencies and strengths, and we said this is one of the areas that we can extend to small businesses out there during this time and really help them manage cost and still stay in great connection with their customers. Just like Mariah's topic went through the importance of social media, and Trinity's topic around the loyalty that you're building with your customers, we understand how important it is. So we really looked at this and we said, well, what's the problem out there and how can we solve it? The problem that we understood is that small teams are really at a major disadvantage because they have limited resources, they have limited time and knowledge of really how to market their companies successfully online. And this creates some big problems because obviously, as we mentioned, the price of working with an agency or even hiring a dedicated in-house person can be really expensive, but the cost of doing nothing right now in these circumstances is even higher because it's very easy to be forgotten when your customers are not interacting with you face-to-face as normal. So what we did was we basically took and just said, look, we're going to create a light version of the agency. We're going to open up a very specialized program that's going to be available to smaller teams to have premium social media strategies developed and managed, but for bite-sized budgets. And so that's what we've done. We've basically simplified the services that we offer. We've cut the cost of what we offer in order to provide that support, and we've made it accessible to the average business out there. The first plan that we created was the Little Bite plan, which is really ideal for smaller teams that are just getting started or are really just looking for the basics of their social media strategy to be covered. This is what Mariah talked about predominantly in her topic about the social storefront. And in this plan, we cover everything that's necessary for your business to connect with your audience and grow your audience. From social strategy to crafting a unique, authentic voice for your business, to writing custom content and creating custom graphics for the business and videos, to actually doing the work and posting all of this and managing those posts and managing the engagement. Because this is one of those areas, especially as a smaller business, that a lot of times this is falling on either the business owner to do, or it's falling on an administrative person in the office that may not have the same set of experience that they should to do this at the maximum level. And as we heard from Mariah, engagement is really, really key here, and that takes time. So, you know, a lot of times, whether it's a capacity issue, a bandwidth issue, or just a creative and a strategy issue for a company, this is a great program to really cover those bases. We work out of a full digital dashboard that we extend to the small business so they can learn what's happening with their reputation and their social engagement online and really track all of that with really deep analytics, and we constantly are tweaking for optimization. And this plan we've opened up at $995 a month, which is an incredible price comparable to any of the other agency programs that we used to run previously. For those businesses that are looking for a bigger step and want bigger, faster growth online, we have the Big Bite plan, and that one's at $24.95 a month. This is everything that the Little Bite plan includes, but it also includes a premium social media identity where we take the brand and really customize how that brand is going to be represented across the different social channels. And then we are just producing more content with more engagement. It's just more time going in to engaging with the audience. We're also including an influencer engagement strategy. This is really helpful to expedite the growth of your audience, is to start engaging with some of the key influencers in your industry and that have an audience already that you could be connected with to grow your following and to grow your audience. So we've introduced these two plans right now for everybody on this webinar. We're going to offer a special $500 off your first month for anybody who signs up by June 5th. Use the code LFA for this, and all you have to do is go to our website, lite.joybyte.com to get signed up. And then also, as a gift to everybody that's on this call, we've created a full social media audit checklist. This is a deep dive into all of the main social media channels for you to be able to audit your own company, see where you are, see what gaps you have that could be filled. This will be a very helpful and educational tool for anybody out there. And we're actually, for the people that download this, we're going to be selecting one of the businesses to create a free customized social media strategy. And this will be a deep strategy that will help organize how you should be posting, the frequency, an editorial calendar for you, and it will really help you to pick up some speed with your social media activities. All right, with that, let's go ahead and open up the Q&A session.
All right, Ben, so there were a few questions that came through while you guys were doing your presentation. So for any of those that have been holding off typing any questions into the chat box, you can go ahead and do so now, and I will read them out. The first one is, if you are temporarily closed, but will be reopening in July, should you list your business on Google as temporarily closed?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and take that one. That's a good question. The answer to that is yes, mainly because even though it's not too long into the future that you plan on opening, you still have a pretty big chunk of your customer base. Roughly 86% of people rely on online listings, primarily Google listings, to find their information. So while you might be posting those different business hours or when you're opening back up again in July on maybe your Facebook or your website, they may not necessarily go to those locations to get the information that they're looking for. So again, Google has disclaimed up until March of this year, it was the case that you would get deprioritized in the ranking if you marked your business even as temporarily closed. But due specifically to this situation where so many businesses are needing to do that, Google is viewing companies exactly the same as if you were marked as open when you mark it as temporarily closed. So there will be no penalty at all.
All right, this one is more of a comment, but maybe you could speak to whether this is correct or not. JG says, I was advised by Google that if you don't have people to come by your location, in my case, it's a home base balloon, and I'm not quite sure, is it Santa Claus business in Gilbert, to turn off the Google Maps section. Ours is very different, is very important, they advised me. And I stay in the 3-pack area. So it sounds like they have a home location where people don't actually come to that location. Is it correct that the Google Map section should be turned off?
Yeah, so it'll automatically not list your location on the maps in the address section. So when you're filling out your address, you have the option to show just your city and state or the full address. So if you are a company that you're delivering those goods or services and customers aren't necessarily coming to you, but you have a local target market, then that's where that would come into play. So you just choose whether you want your full address to show or if you are delivering those goods, and Google walks you through that when you're filling out your Google business listing.
Perfect. JG says again, I understand that Facebook and Instagram changed their policy on how you top most. Could you comment on this? I also heard doing Facebook ads is the new norm. Can you speak to this as well?
Yeah, I can take that one. So for the Facebook ads are becoming very important. The only thing I would advise is that you want to be understanding how your audience is interacting before you devote budget to the Facebook ads. Just because you could be spending a lot of money on something that you're not entirely sure how it works when you look at the analytics. So I would always advise taking about 90 days to really understand your audience with a very high social media posting frequency before you devote budget to that. But just to speak to Facebook and Instagram and all the social platforms, we're seeing that they are really prioritizing people using the platform as people and not businesses, and then asking businesses to devote budget to ads. It's just a way for them to make money and really take control over their platforms. But with that understood, there are a lot of organic ways that you can be posting that will get you audience members and reach and engagement, and I would advise doing that first. But social media platforms just in general change their algorithm and practices all the time. There are a lot of resources that you can stay up to date with those, Sprout Social and HubSpot being one of them. But that's why it's really important to have a social media expert on your side that's consistently staying up to date with those, because they are continuing to prioritize content differently from a month-to-month basis.
Perfect. All right. We have one here that says, Meghan mentioned receiving updates from Google on what they are doing. Can I access this information and how would I do that? And then also, can anyone access this information and how would they do that?
Yes, that is a great question. The one thing that I absolutely love Google's support banks, if you will, in the Google My Business community section. They have a full community section, essentially like the forum, but they also have an update feed where Google is releasing any new updates. So that's exactly where that announcement could be found about COVID-19 and how they made that transition of being temporarily closed, not dinging you. This is something that's updated every single day. So new announcements are coming out constantly. It's a great resource, and I can actually put the link into the chat for you guys.
Perfect. All right, so I see there were a couple other questions that look like they have been answered either by Ben or Amanda earlier in the conversation. Are there any other questions that need to be asked that you'd like to type in? Otherwise, I think that's about it then. Ben, did you have any closing words?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time. I know it's the middle of the day. We want to help as many of the people that attended this as possible. So even if you just have general questions or you'd like to take a conversation offline, please feel free to reach out to us. You can get in touch with us at hello@joybyte.com. And we would be happy to take any questions and just really kind of give back and help as many people as we can kind of navigate these circumstances. We know there's a lot of information that we gave out on this webinar, and the last time we did this webinar, we had a really great response where we were able to help a few businesses with some very specific issues that they were having. So please, don't be a stranger, reach out.
Awesome, and thank you again, Ben and the whole joybyte team. This recording will be up on our website at localfirstaz.com/COVID webinars. You can expect to see that probably in the next day or two, and then we will also be sending an email out that will include a few extra links and the social media checklist. So you can expect that to hit your inbox in the next few days. And just keep in mind that we do have some other webinars coming up. So make sure again to check our listed webinars on our website and register for any of those that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for entertaining or for, for attending.